So this is by CNN. So according to our government, the like everything's going great, right? It's been a perfect war. We've won a million times over. I've heard Donald Trump say we've already won like at least 10 times, right? Um, Now I've been highly skeptical of that. I personally believe that Iran has won this war in a way that nobody could have possibly anticipated, including me. Iran has proven how little America is capable of protecting its allies, which I think is the biggest outcome of the war, but has also been able to accomplish military objectives that nobody thought that they would be able to do. And one of those military objectives that they wanted was to get rid of all of the American bases that were all precariously surrounding Iran and all of these Gulf state countries. Like it's you obviously you don't want your adversary just building bases all around your country. Like if China decided to start building bases like all over the Mexican border or something, like just Chinese military bases all over the Mexican border, all over the Canadian border, over in Cuba, if China started doing that, I think America would probably have a problem with that, and vice versa. Iran, we've done that to Iran. We do that to everybody, to be honest, but particularly we do this for Iran by putting all of our bases all over the Gulf states. And but Iran was able to essentially completely destroy most of the bases, and that's what we're going to learn about here, because like they say, like Hegseth has been saying, Iran's military capabilities are gone. They're not able to do anything anymore. And it's just like I don't think so. But here is an example of exactly what they were able to accomplish. This is how is a depleted Iran damaging so many U.S. bases? A CNN investigation. And the breaking news on this Chiron says CNN investigation: majority of U.S. bases in Mideast damaged by Iran. So let's see what's going on here.
Unprecedented destruction. A CNN investigation discovering Iran has caused extensive damage to a majority of the U.S. military sites in the region. Precise Iranian missile and drone strikes, aided by sophisticated Chinese technology, hitting some of America's most crucial military assets in the Middle East. The extent of the damage unknown until now. Our Tamara Kablawi is out front.
Well, if you were listening to me, if you were listening to broadcast, the extent of the damage wasn't unknown, because we did have some information. There were various reports that about at least 12 military bases being essentially completely destroyed. But also I was under the assumption that if they're hitting those, they're hitting all of them. It's not like there's more maybe some countries have more air defenses than others. Like some countries it's easier for Iran to hit, but in general I was pretty confident that they were hitting them all over the place.
Camp Buehring, Kuwait. American soldiers enjoying a karaoke night at one of the biggest U.S. military hubs in the Gulf. That was then. This is now. A once bustling American microcity in the desert, nearly empty and heavily damaged after a weeks-long barrage of...
We also got those reports that all of our, all of our American chuds over there who were in those military bases were all evacuated to hotels and stuff around the region. So, and AKA embedding themselves inside of civilian infrastructure, which I think I've heard from somewhere that makes that civilian infrastructure a valid military target. I can't remember where I heard that from, but yeah, we've had plenty of reporting of these bases essentially being empty now for weeks. But yeah,
city in the desert, nearly empty and heavily damaged after a weeks-long barrage of Iranian missiles and drones.
Yeah, those are done.
One of many U.S. military facilities in the oil-rich Arabian Peninsula, targeted by Iran even as the U.S. and Israel pummeled the Islamic Republic's large arsenal. So what impact have Iran's strikes had on America's footprint in the Middle East? A CNN investigation found evidence of unprecedented destruction. We can reveal that strikes damaged at least 16 U.S. installations across 8 countries.
Yeah, but all of those American troops that were in there, including the ones that died, have they considered becoming Israeli? Because if they were Israeli, then we would protect them. If instead of holding up American flags on those bases, if they just held up an Israeli flag, then we would have actually protected them. But who cares about American troops? Who cares about American bases when you have the one true ally, Israel, the only country that matters, Israel, who needs all of our interceptors and all of our efforts to stop missiles going there? You know what I'm saying?
According to our analysis and sourcing, that's the majority of American military positions in the region, and some of them are virtually unusable now. A U.S. source familiar with the situation told us that they'd never seen anything like this at American bases, that these were rapid, targeted strikes using advanced technology. Iran's main targets? Multi-million-dollar aircraft, like this Boeing E-3 Sentry, which gave the U.S. a huge amount of visibility over the Gulf. It's out of production, and in today's money, it's worth nearly $500 million.
My tax dollars.
Critical communications equipment. Look.
I mean, I'm not a fan of imperialism, so I don't really care about the, Iran taking out all of our tools of death around the region. I think it's actually pretty rad that they do. I mean, I don't want anybody to die, but I don't really care if they take out our tools of death. But a much better solution would be that we just don't have these bases over there. We took all of the hundreds of millions of dollars that are being incinerated in fire right now over in the region, and instead we took those hundreds of millions of dollars and we spent it here at home to improve the material conditions of the working class. That would be my personal preference. Now, we're never going to do that. So I gotta have at least a little bit of fun. So I am going to laugh about all of America's, all of my tax dollars in the shape of $500 million drones or planes and stuff getting completely incinerated into a ball of dust. Yeah, I mean, they're tools of death. So, it's okay, people. It's okay.
These giant golf balls. They're known as radomes, and they protect satellite dishes vital for data transmission. In this base alone, Iran destroyed all but one of the radomes less than a month into the war. And crucially, radar systems. Highly sophisticated, expensive, difficult to replace, and critical to air defense. A second U.S. source, this one a congressional aide familiar with damage assessments, described these as the most cost-effective of the targets. Our radar systems, they said, are our most expensive and our most limited resource in the region.
Bye-bye.
For U.S. allies in the region, there's a dilemma. In some ways, Iran's show of force makes the U.S.'s presence in the region even more necessary to Gulf security. But there's a new reality here, which is that U.S. military installations, previously seen as formidable fortresses, have turned into sitting targets.
They were always sitting targets. Let's be completely honest. Anybody who had any objective reality, like anybody who lived in the real world, knew exactly what would happen to these bases as soon as America, finally decided to go into this war that it's been planning for 30 or 40 years. As long as you are not someone who completely buys into American propaganda 24/7, you knew that all of these bases were missile sponges. And you also knew that all of the military service members who are there are intentionally put there as sitting ducks. I would consider them almost like distractions for Iran to pepper with missiles instead of sending them at Israel, to be honest. Now, I don't know, man. This is just things that are so easily predictable like this are I get very annoyed when it's covered as some sort of unpredictable outcome, and even from the Gulf states perspectives of what was immediately going to happen as soon as this hot war started, believing that America was going to be capable of protecting all of these countries. I thought that America would do better than it has been, but I also knew that it was impossible to protect all of these military bases from Iran, just given Iran's missile capabilities. So I don't know. I just get a little frustrated by that sometimes.
Saudi source told me the war has shown Saudi Arabia, that's the U.S.'s longest-standing Arab ally, that the alliance with the U.S. cannot be exclusive, and it is not, in their words, impregnable.
To get a sense of just how vulnerable U.S. facilities have become, have a look at this. It's the war room at Qatar's El Udeid Air Base. the theater, command, and control hub for U.S. air power across 21 nations. Struck not just once, but twice, and according to a U.S. source, causing significant damage. The base had been largely evacuated at this point, and no casualties were reported. Iran's visibility.
By the way, this was a strategic calculus of evacuating these bases early on. They could have done a lot more to, I think, try to protect them, potentially. Like I said, but I think number one, they wanted to give. They primarily cared about protecting Israel over these, like, you know, American tax dollar bases or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they cared more about that. But also, I think there was a Trump in particular, especially after that first strike that killed all of those service members. I think Trump in particular was very worried about the optics of having like, you know, a constant deluge of service members dying, right? Like dying at these bases. And so probably made the calculus that he cared, like, instead of like engaging in an actual defensive posture that would lead to some casualties, but trying to protect these bases in a more meaningful manner, he decided just to abandon them and let Iran just continuously pummel them. And it kind of is, I think that's more indicative of America's lack of, America's like just inability to take any sort of actual service member deaths, especially for wars as unpopular as this. Like, it probably would have become a huge, like if we were getting like, say, one troop death per week during the entire, that entire conflict, the first 6 weeks, I mean, like even just that probably would have been like pretty impactful, I think, on the American psyche in terms of this war, and particularly because Trump cares so much about optics. I think that he would be willing to sacrifice the strategic outcomes of the war just to avoid looking bad from an optics perspective. So yeah, but it's not like it would have changed that much if the people like had stayed on base. I just think they could have protected the Gulf states a little bit more, but like I said, they care more about protecting Israel.
Visibility over its targets has never been clearer. In 2024, according to the Financial Times, Tehran secretly acquired a Chinese satellite known as the TEE-01B, a massive upgrade from its own satellites. That means that Tehran went from looking at images of this quality to this. This is the first time America has fought an adversary with satellites that capture high-res imagery almost as detailed as its own. As the scale of the damage comes into focus, many will wonder whether America's presence, once a protective shield in the Middle East, has turned into its Achilles heel.
Responding to our findings, a Pentagon official said that the defense...
Yeah, I assure you, Gulf states, if you did not have American military bases on your soil, Iran would not have targeted you. Like, they wouldn't have. Assuming that you aren't like aligning with America in other ways. It's a strategic blunder for you to maintain these military bases on your soil if you actually care about protecting your country from like military conflict. Like, it is, you are objectively just like throwing like oil on the fire, not to like, no pun intended. Like, you are just you're throwing gas on the fire to like keeping these military bases on your like on your soil. So the problem though is that the people in charge of these Gulf state countries don't care about protecting their people from conflict. They don't care about that at all. They only care about their maintaining their own power as like oil oligarchs, right? Like so that doesn't like they don't give a shit about their like the actual people who live in their country. They only care about that, and they see America as essentially the protectorate of their like of their oil oligarchy. Like that's basically what they see America as. And so they allow this, they allow these troops to be in the region as like a sort of exchange for like a handshake with America, that America is going to protect the monarchs and America is going to protect the various people in charge and all of the oil oligarchs from any sort of like, I don't know, like unrest, like civil unrest, or from any sort of I don't know, like Israel destabilization efforts or whatever, right? Like that was the deal that they were expecting for this. I think they still probably thought, though, that America would be capable of protecting them.
Defense Department does not discuss damage assessments, but that U.S. forces remain fully operational with the same readiness and combat effectiveness. We also understand from our sources that the vast majority of U.S. troops evacuated their positions in the Middle East, with many working from the relative safety of hotels and apartments in the Arabian Peninsula.
What
Civilian infrastructure, embedding themselves in civilian infrastructure.
stands out to you about
using civilians as human shields, as one might say.
Working from the relative safety of hotels and apartments in the Arabian Peninsula.
What stands out to you about all this?
Well, Aaron, what's interesting is that the U.S. Intercept rate is likely somewhere in the 95% level right now. These look predominantly like drone strikes. That's our assessment, the Shaheeds that did this rather than Iranian ballistic missiles. But it does show if the intercept rate is somewhere around the 95% level, that 5% or so are getting through and they are having damage. So
it's also been going down, right? Like this 5% rate that they're giving, number one, it's from the American, State Department, so grain of salt. But like they are like they do intercept the vast majority of them. I'm not denying that, but I think that the rate might be a little bit higher than what they're letting on. But regardless, though, the rate of success has been going up over time because they're targeting these radars and stuff. So, like that means that it might have been like a 2.5%, like assuming their numbers are correct, it might have been 2.5% at the start, and now it's like 10% are getting through, like it might be something along those lines. I think that there were graphs of like the hit rates over time. I can see if I can pull that up on the side.
The system that the U.S. has in place is not foolproof. It's very good, but it's not foolproof. And I would just say, sort of big picture, of your shift to the Indo-Pacific with the PLA, the Chinese People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, U.S. bases across the region, Japan, Philippines, and other places, are going to be at much more severe danger.
This one seems crazy. What is this? Through March? Is that was March 10th? Do they have any? I don't know how accurate this one is. I'm just going to pull it up just to show it. 1 second. Save it as open image in new tab. That's what I usually do. Oops, it's pretty. I don't know how accurate this only goes through March 10th, which was like, I guess we've been in a ceasefire for a couple weeks, but penetration as percent of total attempts. Again, this is from x.com. I'm going to be honest. I don't know where this data came from. So I would take this also with a grain of salt, but ballistic missile hit rate. I don't know. This is confusing. I'm going to see if I can find another one. 1 second. Yeah, I can't find any good graphs on Google Images right now. But yeah, I mean, we'll take this one with a grain of salt, but you can see like a increase over time. This may be an outlier or something, but I would guess that like it just kept going up around this rate throughout the entire conflict. Because as they, like I said, as they started hitting those radars and stuff, it became much harder to intercept, and so they just became more and more successful, especially for the drones.
Than what we're seeing now in the Middle East.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when you talk about with the damage done by the drones, right, that the missile interceptor rate may be, exceptional. 5% can cause huge damage, but then there's the drones. You have done incredible reporting, you and all of CSIS, on the depletion of U.S. Offensive capabilities, missile inventories specifically as well. Trump was asked about that earlier today. Seth, I wanted to play part of what he said.
All over the world we have inventory, and we can take that if we need it. but all over the world we have tremendous amounts of inventory, the best. For instance, we're stocked and locked and loaded. Right now, we have more than double what we had when this started.
More than double what we had when this started and tremendous amounts of inventory. I mean, what do you even make of such comments? Obviously, false when it comes to things like tomahawks, but what do you make overall?
Well, I think what's important is that not
the analysis, the reporting that I've seen is that we're about halfway through all of our missiles and all of our interceptors at this point in time.
Comes to things like tomahawks, but what do you make overall?
Well, I think what's important is that not all missiles are created equal. I mean, one of the advantages the U.S. had over time in Iran was that it had air dominance. It could use short-range missiles like Joint Direct Attack Munitions, or JDAMs. The problem that the U.S. has in the Pacific right now is it's going to have to use long-range missiles because the Chinese have such extensive capabilities to hit targets in what we call the first and second island chains, like out to Guam. And there, the U.S. stockpiles of long-range munitions, like Tomahawks, like JASSMs, like long-range anti-ship missiles, LRASMs, they are in very limited supply right now, and the same thing with the interceptors. So what really matters in this discussion is not missiles per se. It's not helpful to talk about missiles in general. It's the missiles you need to deter in specific situations.
Which I think is just so crucial, and what you lay out there is so important. And it's important for Americans to understand all of this and the truth. Obviously, you know, what he said there is at best extremely misleading about something so important for national security. He also talked today, Seth, about something about Iran, right? What does Iran really have left, okay? The military. And he was very specific. Here he is.
We get the radical left to say, we're not winning. We're not winning. They don't have any military left. It's unbelievable. It's actually, I believe it's treasonous. Okay, you want to know the truth? It's treasonous.
It's treasonous. It's treasonous to criticize the war, people. Spoken like somebody who really thinks the war is going well. you know it's going great when they criminalize you saying, hey, maybe like, isn't it bad that we went through 50% of our missiles in 6 weeks of war, leading to a grand total of our capability as an entire country of going against a middle power of being like 12 weeks of war is the max, and then we have to tap out. Isn't that kind of bad? Like I don't know. That's they're really showing their ass when they say we must criminalize anybody who says that the war is going badly. Like that, like, come on, man. Like you gotta you can't be projecting like that. That's like, it's the most obvious. I don't know. It's like it's like if you say like, oh, if someone was like, oh, you're a bad driver, and you're like, no, I'm not. I drive race cars. I'm a race car driver, and I actually drive in NASCAR, and you can't even, how dare you even say that about me? I'm the best driver that has ever existed. I'm like Dale Earnhardt, man. What are you talking about? It's like, dude, you're clearly fucking lying. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you shouldn't stop over projecting that much. It makes it so obvious.
I believe it's treasonous. Okay, you want to know the truth? It's treasonous.
And he said that Iran they've got nothing left. Okay, you've looked specifically at that, and you found that Iran does still have a lot left when you look at drones, you look at missile launchers.
Yeah, Aaron, I mean, look, there's no question, first of all, that Iran has its capabilities across the boards are degraded. The video you showed of U.S. bases, what the extent of the damage in Iran is much more significant than what U.S. bases have received. Nevertheless, despite that damage, the Iranians have hid stuff underground, so they still have 40% or so, our assessment, of their drone capabilities left, and then maybe 60% or so of their missile launchers. So they do still have the capability to fire missiles and drones, and that makes them still a dangerous.
And they never talk about Iran's production capabilities as well. Like, Iran is still creating drones right now. Iran is still creating missiles. They're still creating, by the way, missiles and drones at a rate that is faster than America can produce missile interceptors. The trajectory of this war is set in stone. America is not capable of producing the tools of death and destruction that it needs to like just engage in the way that it has for the past 6 weeks indefinitely, right? Like it's just not possible. Whereas Iran is still capable to produce more. Iran is still like, and even if you take their numbers as for real here, that's still thousands of missiles and hundreds of thousands of drones that Iran still has. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this is, it's pretty obvious. Like, if you just look at the material realities, who is winning this war. So there you go, people. That's what's going on with the drones right now.